I have a problem. Well, a lot of problems, but for now we'll focus on just one of them. And I'm hoping that this will be the solution. But before I can explain how I expect a gumball machine and some beads to fix anything, I need to explain what the problem is, and contrary to what the intro implies, it's not my unfinished projects. It's crippling indecision. One of the reasons I started this channel was to bring a little more accountability into my creative endeavors, but it's a double-edged sword. The pressure to post a video on a semi-regular basis does keep me from putting projects on the back burner indefinitely, but it also causes some anxiety when unavoidable delays come up. I feel the need to fill the gap with a smaller, quicker project, but what? I have hundreds of projects and ideas I can fall back on, but which one will be quick enough and check all the boxes for a half-decent video? This is where the Gumball machine comes into play. I printed a list of the quickest and most video-worthy unfinished projects, which could be cut into strips and put into the beads. I modified a quilling tool to fit into a small battery-powered screwdriver to make the process quicker and easier. I really didn't want to roll up all those little bits of paper by hand. I printed the project list a few times to fill up more of the beads, but still didn't use them all, which was not unexpected. I used some plastic marbles to help fill the space so the gumball machine wouldn't look too empty. The marbles were really convincing as fake gumballs, and on that note, you should absolutely not put fake candy out where anyone might think it's real candy and try to eat it. I knew these were plastic and still felt a little tempted to try and chew them because they looked so much like gumballs. Do not do this if you are not 100% sure you can keep it away from small children or just uninformed people with a sweet tooth. With the unfinished project beads all mixed up and in the machine, it's ready to make my decisions for me and relieve my analysis paralysis. It does dispense more than one gumball at a time, but a couple of trays labeled even and odd, and a couple of dice rolls make it pretty easy to randomly select just one bead from the group. The rest will go back in the gumball machine later. The asterisk on this one means there's more than one of this project to choose from, and at this point I will step in and actually make a decision. I have a half-completed paper kit kicking around somewhere, but I think it would be better to start one from the beginning. And since this Studio Ghibli one would take way too long for this video, I'll make the pirate ship. There's not a lot to say about this process. The instructions are mostly diagrams with very little text. And there's one point where I'm going off script a little. It says to put together one side of the whole completely from back to front before putting together the other side. But I'm going to be alternating between the two sides as I work my way from back to front. I've put together a different ship before, and when I did it as instructed, the sides were not even, and they twisted the deck slightly, which made it impossible to continue until I carefully cut the whole pieces apart and put them back together without the twist. I ended up with a small gap at the back of the ship, but luckily I had some thin black paper I could use to cover it. The glue I'm using is just slightly watered down Mod Podge in a fine-tipped squeeze bottle, and the tools, other than the scalpel, are a motley crew of whatever I could find at the time. Sadly, my good tweezers have gone AWOL, and I had to make do with these teeny tiny green ones. They worked okay for making precise bends, but were completely useless at placing tiny pieces in hard-to-reach spaces. It was like trying to get Mr. Cotton's parrot to do Mr. Cotton's job. The next to last step was adding the sails, which are connected by one tiny tab that goes into a slightly oversized slot. So I decided to flip the ship and let gravity work for me instead of against me. After that, I just had to assemble more than a dozen absurdly tiny cannons to glue to the sides. Nice of them to save the most frustrating part for last.